The year is 1914. Europe hums with industry and whispers with intrigue, yet beneath the veneer of progress, tensions simmer. On a sunny June day in Sarajevo, a seemingly insignificant event will shatter the fragile peace. A young man, Gavrilo Princip, fires two shots. His target, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne. The Archduke and his wife are killed. These gunshots, echoing through the streets of Sarajevo, will have consequences far beyond that day. They will set in motion a chain of events that plunges Europe and eventually the world into the abyss of World War I. This event, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, is often cited as the spark that ignited the Great War. But was it the true cause, or merely the catalyst for a conflict long brewing? To understand the Great War, one must look beyond that fateful day in Sarajevo. We must delve into the complex web of alliances, the surging tides of nationalism, and the relentless build-up of military might that characterized pre-war Europe. Only then can we grasp the magnitude of the forces that collided in 1914. Europe in the early 20th century was a powder keg waiting to explode. The great powers, driven by ambition and suspicion, engaged in a dangerous game of power politics. Germany, newly unified and hungry for recognition, challenged Britain's long-held dominance. France, still smarting from its defeat in the Franco-Prussian War, yearned to reclaim its lost glory. Russia, a sprawling empire grappling with internal tensions, sought to expand its influence in the Balkans. These competing ambitions created a climate of fear and mistrust. Each nation viewed the others with suspicion, their hands hovering over the hilts of their swords. Military budgets soared as armies grew larger and weapons became deadlier. The stage was set for a conflict of unprecedented scale. At the heart of this volatile mix lay a powerful force nationalism. Across Europe, people felt a profound sense of loyalty and devotion to their nation, their language, their culture. This fervent nationalism, while fostering unity within nations, also bred suspicion and hostility between them. It created an atmosphere where differences were magnified and compromise seemed impossible. The Austro-Hungarian Empire, a patchwork of different ethnicities and languages, was particularly vulnerable to the forces of nationalism. Within its borders, Serbs, Croats, Czechs and others yearned for independence. The assassination of Franz Ferdinand, seen as an oppressor by many Serbs, ignited this powder keg of nationalist aspirations. Adding fuel to the fire was a complex network of alliances that entangled the nations of Europe. These agreements, intended to deter aggression, instead created a hair-trigger mechanism for war. When one nation mobilized for war, it obligated its allies to do the same, creating a domino effect that could quickly spiral out of control. Germany, fearing a two-front war against France and Russia, had formed the Triple Alliance with Austria-Hungary and Italy. In response, France, Russia and Great Britain formed the Triple Entente. These alliances, initially intended to preserve peace, instead transformed a local crisis in the Balkans into a global conflagration. Section 5. A powder keg ignited. The assassination of Franz Ferdinand provided the spark that ignited this powder keg. Austria-Hungary, determined to crush Serbian nationalism, issued an ultimatum containing deliberately unacceptable demands. When Serbia refused to comply with all of the terms, Austria-Hungary declared war. Russia, bound by its alliance with Serbia, mobilized its troops. Germany, fearing a Russian attack, declared war on Russia and its ally, France. Great Britain, obligated to defend Belgian neutrality, declared war on Germany. Within a matter of days, the great powers of Europe were at war. The world watched in horror as the guns of August roared to life. What began as a localized conflict in the Balkans had escalated into a global conflagration, engulfing Europe in the flames of war. Section 6. The Guns of August. Europe at war. The early days of the war were marked by a mood of naive optimism. Many believed it would be a short, decisive conflict, a war to end all wars. They could not have been more wrong. The war that raged across Europe for the next 4 years would be unlike any the world had ever seen. It would be a brutal, industrialized war of attrition, claiming millions of lives and leaving scars that would last for generations. From the trenches of the Western Front to the vast battlefields of the Eastern Front, soldiers faced unimaginable horrors. Machine guns mowed down men by the thousands. Poison gas choked the life out of those it did not instantly kill. Tanks, a new and terrifying weapon, rumbled across the ravaged landscape. Section 7. Beyond Sarajevo, a multifaceted tragedy. World War I was a tragedy on an unprecedented scale. Millions perished not only on the battlefields, but also from disease, starvation, and the horrors of trench warfare. The war shattered empires, redrew the map of Europe, and left an enduring legacy of trauma and loss. While the assassination of Franz Ferdinand provided the immediate trigger for the war, it was merely the catalyst for a conflict rooted in deeper, more complex causes. Nationalism, imperialism, militarism, and a tangled web of alliances all played a role in setting the stage for this global catastrophe. The assassination served as a focal point, a lightning rod for the simmering tensions that had been building for decades. Section 8. The Long Shadow of the Great War. A world transformed. The world that emerged from the ashes of World War I was vastly different from the one that had existed before. The old order was gone, replaced by a new world order grappling with the economic, political, and social consequences of the conflict. The war had shattered empires, toppled monarchies, and unleashed revolutionary fervor across the globe. It had also sown the seeds for future conflicts, including the rise of fascism and the outbreak of World War II. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, a seemingly isolated event in a distant corner of Europe, had unleashed forces that would reshape the world. It serves as a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of nations and the devastating consequences of unchecked nationalism, militarism, and the failure of diplomacy. The Great War, a conflict sparked by a single act of violence, continues to cast a long shadow over the 21st century, a sobering reminder of the fragility of peace and the enduring human cost of war.